Okay. Kumlena Blakamara, Mitzvah Shabbos, Parshas Vayishlach. We're up to Masechta Tainis of Ches Amid Aleph, and we brought these psukim here that we're talking about it. The sky is not raining. So we said that the reason is we'll let Panim Kalkal because the generation generally is corrupt, and that you need the only way to do it is to appease the Eivishter. We brought another pasuk, B'chayolim Yigbar, that we know the soldiers have to soldier on, and the Yisrael Hichshel Chachma. And this, then there's an advantage here that it prepares Chachma. In other words, we have to ask Hashem to do tshuva. Obviously, it's much better to behave the right way in the first instance. And then we moved on to say that this also referring to a Talmud Chacham, that a Talmud Chacham that is not really learning or absorbing is probably because they didn't prepare themselves properly, because Panim Mikalka, they didn't prepare themselves before they went to the shir, like a Shlokish used to revise 24 times before he went into his brother-in-law Rabbi Yechanan, in the Meir of Barava. Sorry, he did it 40 times, like the 40 days corresponding to the 40 days Moshe Rabbeinu was in Shemayim, and Abba Barava did 24 times corresponding to Tanakh. Comes along Rava says, if you see a student that he's finding he has difficulties in comprehending or learning, is why? Because his teacher is not going out there to try to I guess to explain to him properly and to recognize, acknowledge this student, and to have a good relationship, a good rapport with the student. Shenemar, it says, because he didn't show him a radiant face and a smiling face and a warm face, therefore the student is ruined. Is Maita Kante, what should the student do to remedy that? Yad Balavrem, he should send a number of his friends to talk to the teacher and tell the teacher that I'm interested in learning. And please, take an interest in me. Shenemar, it says, we want that the soldiers should get out there, Yigabe, that the soldiers, soldier on and push Yisrael Hechsher Chachma, that the Chachma will be increased. Surely, if he behaved the first place in the right way, then they would have a good rapport, and then they wouldn't need any intercession from his friends. It says in another pasuk, if the snake bites, there's no kishuv or anything else, witchcraft that caused that caused the snake to go ahead and bite. There's no advantage to the person who. We'll see what that means. There's no advantage or benefit at all to the person of the tongue, and we'll see what we're referring to. So it means as follows: This is interpretation number one. If you see generations, that the heaven is like copper, that nothing is coming out. It's not raining at all. Is Milahidi Talamata, and there's no rain or dew coming down. You know why this is happening? Because the part of davening which you're supposed to daven quietly, which is Shemona Esrei Amidah, that part of davening which we're supposed to be quietly, the people who are not davening properly. Because the people are not doing the loichish, because they're not davening the quiet Shemona with the right intentions, the right kavanah, that's why it's happening. My takanosan, what should they do? Yelchu eitzel mishi yedelu. They should go to somebody who knows how to daven, and the chsiv yagid olavrei. Go talk to him with friends, and then maybe things will improve. The ein yisrain lebal haloshen. What benefit is there to somebody who knows how to daven but doesn't bother doing it? And if somebody is able to daven the quiet shemona properly, doesn't. What does he benefit by not helping and not davening properly? What happened? He did daven, but did he get a response? My takante, go eitzel chosen shebedur, go to the great tzaddikim in the generation. The yad be'oltu, they will daven on your behalf. So here you have an open Gemara where it says that if somebody has a tzara and you daven that's not working, then you should go to a tzaddik to get a bracha to that they should daven on your behalf for you. It says in the pasuk by Yitzav Olav. He told him, Bim Mavgia. He told him over there about Mavgia. What do you mean with Tzavol of Mavgia? So we touch as follows. We translate as follows: is the Ein Pegila Tefillah. That I told him that he should go and get someone to daven. And how do we know Pegila means davening? Shnemer, it says Hashem told Yirmiyah To you, I'll tispal about them as I want you to daven on behalf of your generation. I'll tis about them, rino tefillah, and don't stand there and sing and daven on their behalf. I'll tivga be, and don't. What's tivga now in the vein of what's in the light of what we're saying before means don't daven to me. So therefore, we know begin means davening. But the im lochas will also be on the other hand. Let's say you take a daven on behalf of these other people and it worked. But then when Meg is died to love, you start feeling arrogant and proud. Look, I achieved something. Maybe afloilam. In fact, what you do is you're bringing anger to the world. Remember, but there's another pasuk where that pasuk says, on that pasuk where it says Yagid Olav Reya. You get your friends to talk to him. Mikna af aloilam. So you're buying, you're acquiring af, which means anger, aloilam, because you felt elevated. You felt, you felt you're something special. You made it rain. Rabbi Amar says, Shnei Talmidei Chacham, you have two rabbis. That are sitting in the same, residing in the same city. They don't have any interaction with each other regarding halacha. And what happens then is miskanin ba'af, and they actually cause Hashem's anger to rise. Umalin oisei, that helps to lift it. You know, it says mikna af al oila, that they bring out this af, they bring out this anger, and they bring it up because they can't get on with each other. On themselves. When it says, getting back to the original pasuk where you talked about that if if you were harmed by a snake, because the people are not davening the way they should be davening, he says I have another pshat altogether. It says right if the snake is bitten, if the snake bites, we said before means that it wasn't in any way stirred by these people with witchcraft. The ain yisrael ba'al lashon, and there's no advantage to the person there or the ba'al halashon, the tongue. What does that mean? It means as follows. This is actually a metaphor or analogy to people who speak idle gossip or lashon hara, and basically they wag their tongue in speaking and maligning other people. So we give a mashal. Loss of love in the future, miscapture the boys, all the animals, and the animal kingdom will approach the snake. And as follows. Aridoid is the lion goes out there and catches its prey, but it has a purpose. It needs to eat. The wolf goes out there and also catches its prey and puts it in and hoards it. And again, why? In order to eat. But after you, when you bite someone and you pass your venom to that person, what do you have from it? In other words, we're asking a person who speaks lashon hara, what benefit do you have by slandering somebody else? And yet that's how it is. So the snake said, you tell me, a person lashon hara, does he have any benefits? What do you want from me? And why we're talking to the snake is because the snake was the first one who said lashon hara, because what do you call it? Well, the first one who tried to induce Chava to eat from the Eitz Hadas. A person's tefillah will not be heard unless he's prepared to put his heart into his hands. In other words, he's completely immersed in his davening with full kavanah. It says, we carried our heart into our hands. It's not so. Shmuel wants to put up this person who's going to repeat what he says, and with Dorish and Hidash in a different passage where it says exactly the opposite. By they seduced them with their mouths. They made believe, they feigned as if they really mean it. With the tongues they lied. Those went through emotions, but they had no interest. Their heart wasn't there with the Eibishter when they were davening. They didn't even believe in his covenant. And Alpha became it was the passing till Hashem forgave them. So even though they didn't mean it, Hashem still forgave them. So how can you tell me that tefillah is not heard? Like kasha. Can be yochid if you daven on your own. The only way you get a response is if you daven with kavanah. Can be tzibur if you're davening in a community, in a minyan, then even if you don't have kavanah, your tefillah will be heard. Rashi says that the words, even though not everybody has kavanah, it still works. Sounds from Rashi because it says that other people who are davening kavanah, their kavanah spreads around. But the simple reading about it is even if no one has kavanah, the tefillah goes directly to Shemaim and it still be effective. Anyway, the Gemara continues. The rain will not come down. People who are honest and have integrity when it comes to interaction with other people in business and so on. Because then it says the people down here below are truthful. Then v'tzedek mishamayim nishkaf. if there's a growth of truth in this world, then what happens is generosity comes from heaven. And what's a generosity? Rain. Omar Rabbi said, "Boy, would come and see how important it is to when you're giving a word to somebody else and you're using witnesses." Is surely Minayin Mechuldabar, the famous story of the weasel in the pit. I'll tell you the name that is. Mother, they used just witnesses, a weasel and a bird. And look what happened. If you use Hashem as your witness between you and your friend, surely the Eibishter will come and collect. The story there was a boy and a girl, and they committed to each other to tie the knot. And then the boy said, just to have witnesses to this event, there's a pit where we're standing, and there's a weasel. They'll be the two witnesses. And this Bacha forgot about it. Number of years later, he married someone else. Had two children. The first child fell into a cistern and drowned, and the other died. And the other child was bitten by a weasel and died. And the wife said to the husband, "This is not normal. Tell me your background, your story." So the Bacha remembered this particular event, related to her. She said, "You should give me a divorce and go back to the girl who was actually still waiting for him." So we see here that he used witnesses, just a weasel and a bird, and look how they intervened. Imagine if we use the Eibishter as a witness in your dealings between you and other people. So I think more further. You said tzedek means tzedakah, generosity. The Gemara says tzedek actually is justice, not generosity, which is very different, which is the brutal, cold letter of the law. So it says the Gemara as follows: I believe a different shot in the pasuk. Kalamatzik is atzmei milamata. Anybody who wants to be a tzaddik in this world below, they work very, very hard. You should know that matzdik and all of them, that from above, they're going to be very particular with you. That if they're going to monitor and watch every single move that you do, and the purpose is for your benefit, so therefore they can expunge anything wrong that you did, so that you can go straight to Gan Eden. Shenemar says, emes meretz tzmach, that the truth comes from down below. I mean, you'll say the mitzvahs properly. V'tzedek mishamayim mishkav. What will come down from heaven? Tzedek. Tzedek means justice, not generosity. That's tzedakah. This is justice. So the Eibush will make sure that will cleanse you, and I think this way you can go straight to Gan Eden. Another pasuk echoing the same sentiment says the Gemara the following pasuk: as they fear you, you get angry. What do you mean you get angry? That you will use that to cleanse all of them of all their sins. Rishlakish says the same idea in the following pasuk. It says the pasuk, Pogata saws that you met someone who is happy even though he's suffering, and you were doing tzedek, you were doing justice, you were punishing them. They'll remember your ways, they'll understand why you're doing it. And they'll say, you get angry, and they sin, but nevertheless, through this, it's good that I'm getting punished, so I will be helped, it will be my salvation, I'll go straight to Gan Eden. Anybody who sees that bad things happen to them and they're rejoicing with it, maybe Yeshua will bring an assistance, salvation towards them. It says for him, it says that the world will be helped if you accept that the Eibush is in control. Anything good and bad happens, it's all in the Eibush's hands. Lakish says, it says in Pasuk, so Hashem will hold back, and then it says, and there won't be rain. What means hold back? When the heaven holds back, there's no rain or dew. It's similar to a woman, she has these birth pangs of the Haini lettuce, like false birth pangs, but no birth. Same thing here. The sky looks like it's forming with cloud and anything else, but no rain. I know it's lucky. It says the word atzar by rain. It says the word atzar when it comes to a woman about to give birth. So we're comparing the two. It says that by a woman, and we daven that a woman should have an easy birth, and we also daven it should rain. So it says that here by a woman. It says ki otzar. It says in the pasuk ki otzar Hashem ba'ad kol rechem. Hashem closed down all the people by Avimelech because he took Sarah in, and so Hashem closed everybody's womb, and so we have the word otzar. The nemra tzida b'shem, we find the same verb by rain. You say Shema, but otzar as a shemayim. Nemar, it says Leida Be'isha, it says birth by a woman. V'nemar Leida B'ksham, it says birth by rain. Nemar Leida Be'isha, where do you find birth by a woman? But Taha, she conceived, Vatela Ben, she gave birth. V'nemar Leida B'ksham, you find birth by rain. Yichsi is also a passage regarding rain, where it says in Yeshaya, V'hoylida v'hitzmicha, when the rain and the snow come down from heaven, and it will satisfy the world, and then V'hoylida v'hitzmicha, like the seed will start, giving birth, and it will start to grow, blossom. So we know you find the same expression by both, and like we learned in the beginning of the session, there are three keys that only Hashem has all three of them, and one of them was giving birth, and one of them was rain. The other one was Tchias HaMesim. It says Pekida by a woman, it says Pekida by remembering, it says remembering by rain. It says Hashem remembered by a woman, Hashem pocket of Sarah. Hashem remembered Sarah, she was barren. The Nema Pekida B'Ksham, you find the same thing that says Hashem remembered by rain. It says in Pasuk, that you remember the earth, and you started to give it to drink. Rabbas Tashrenu, you made it wealthy. Peleg Elakim Mole Moim. The chambers of Hashem are full of water. What do you mean? My Peleg Elakim Mole Moim. The vats of Hashem are full of water. What do you mean? Tana Kimikuva Yesh B'Rakir. There's like a chamber in heaven. The rain comes from there. Tomorrow's Gemara, we're going to have an argument where rain actually comes from. Is it come from heaven or does it come from earth? It says in the following pasuk as follows: that if Hashem makes it rain, but He wants to harm us because we deserve to be punished, so He's like a rod, a stick, or sometimes it rains He rains for the benefit of the land, or you will find it. So there are three different possibilities. So we say as follows: if Hashem makes it rain, but He's angry, He wants to like hit us with a rod. Then if we do tshuva, it's too late. Hashem decided to make these terrible rains, strong rain and strong wind. Is bahar mikvayis. He moves the rain to the mountains, the valleys where nobody, and the hills where nobody's around. Im lechesed, if Hashem is generous, he'll make sure that it rains right where the land is, besadu kram, in the fields and vineyards. Im l'shevet, again, if Hashem makes it rain very hard, and in the tshuva le'ilanos, all the rain will fall on the trees can endure it. But if it's to the land, l'zraim, will go to the seeds and no benefit. Im lechesed, and if it's for generosity, will fill all the cisterns and the wells, so that there'll be plenty of water. We made Rabbi Shmuel Achmeni have a kafna mois. In the time of Achmeni, there was a famine and there was a plague. Amri, and they said, as Rasul say, you cannot ask Hashem for two things. You have to, if you're fasting and doing tshuva, you can only ask for one. So which one is worse, a plague or a famine? So he said, you can't daven for both. Let's daven that the plague should disappear. We're prepared to tolerate the famine. No, I think that we should daven for the famine. And if the Eibusha decides to give us food, and then we're going to die, what's the point of the bracha? Once the Eibusha gives us food, obviously he has to make sure that we're alive. As the pasuk says, let's daven for the hunger. Hashem has given us a blessing of food, it'll be only for the living. You see what it says, open your hand and feed l'chol chai, for all the living ones. So that guarantees that we will remain alive and the plague will disappear. So as why can't we daven with two things at the same time? Because it actually says in the pasuk, when a tzuma will fast, when a vakshim alakenu will daven with Hashem and ask al zois on this. Ezra said we should daven that everyone should be able to go back to Yerushalayim. What is al zois on this? There were other issues to daven for, but he says no. Let's only focus on this. Maravami in Israel is the following pasuk that Daniel said, the Rachmin lemova. Let's daven and ask Hashem. Let's ask Hashem from the Eibusha. Arazadana, this secret. What is the message to Nebuchadnezzar? So let's daven. Meklal ika achrite. There are other issues, but let's just daven for this. The Goyish government made a decree about certain mitzvahs. The gods then made a second decree. They know that Eden can fast and daven and unravel their decree. So they made a second decree to the Lamesa, but you're not allowed to fast. The Rav Zeta came along and said, if we need to fast to do tshuva, but we can't because of the decree, then just the fact that we resolve to fast, that is sufficient. Mikabalein, let us accept that we will fast. And whenever the decree falls apart, which it definitely will, because we decided to fast, then we'll actually fast. How do you know that you can do that? Just committing yourself is good enough? Yes, it says in Pasuk, Elai. And I was told, don't be scared. From the first day that you applied yourself, to understand and to fast for Hashem, all your prayers were heard already. So that's how we overcome that. So till now we've learned how wonderful rain is, and the Gemara will continue that way. But in the next few lines, the Gemara is going to have some negative comments to make about rain. I feel even there's a famine like in Eliyahu, he brought a famine to the world in times of Achav, and then finally it starts raining, which is an unbelievable blessing. But if the rain falls down on Friday when everybody has to run and do the shopping for Shabbos, that is considered a curse, because we need to be able to go around and do our shopping for Shabbos. I know what Abba Shayla. The day that it rains is as difficult the dinner. Is as difficult as it is Mondays and Thursdays when they gather together to get judged, with whoever it is in the courthouses. And then what happens is a lot of people congregate, there's a lot of noise. Same thing is that a rain day, and Erev Shabbos, is very, very difficult. Remember said, in fact, rain is not a luxury, it's a necessity. If it wouldn't have been for the fact that the world needs rain, we would have davened, we would have canceled rain, because rain is not an enjoyable thing. It makes life very difficult. Yishchak says, Shemesh b'Shabbos tzedakah lanim. The poor people that throughout the week they work around and everything else, but on Shabbos they can rest and enjoy the sun. But Rashi goes further. In the winter, when it's cold, on Shabbos they're home, they can't warm themselves up. But if it's sunny outside, even in the winter, they can go outside and get warmed up from the sun. So it says, it will shine to you, Yidei Shmi, those who fear my name, Shemesh Tzedakah Umapa, the sun of generosity will cure. Like in this week's parsha, Shemesh. Very interesting. The pasuk says Yidei Shmi, those who fear my name, and Rashi says, what's a Yidei Shmi? Rashi says Shemesh Shabbos. So this is when you ask somebody, what is the definition of an Orthodox Jew, which is a Yodei Shemaim, Rashi says, Shemesh Shabbos. That's the criteria for someone who's an Orthodox Jew. Rabbi says, God will Yom HaGshamim, the day of rain is that great. I feel a pruta shebekismes berechas by you. And not only the plants in the ground and the seeds that they grow. Everything about everything. When you're prosperous, it affects everything. Even coins in your pocket will be blessed. And if it says, losses I'll make it rain in its right time. I will bless all your activities. That bracha could only fall on things that is hidden from the eye, that you're not sure exactly what you have there. It says in Bar Mitzvah, it says there because then there's no ayin hara. If you don't know exactly what you have, there's no ayin hara. If it's exposed, then there's an ayin hara. Remember, it says, Yitzav Hashem Ishchas HaBracha, Hashem will give you the bracha, Ba'asamecha. And Ba'asamecha, we're translating as if it says something which is concealed. The bracha only found something with the eye cannot see, has no control. So never says, Yitzav Hashem Ishchas HaBracha, Ba'asamecha, that which is concealed. Tell me what we learned. Hanichnes lomud es gronim. Somebody goes in to measure his silo. He says, he makes a blessing, a prayer. Please, Hashem, should tishlach bracha b'ma'as yadeinu. There should be a bracha in my handiwork. He's chilaman. He started to measure, but yet you don't know what the quantity is. You can still make a bracha. You say, Baruch Hashalech bracha b'keriyazet. Thank you, Eivishter, for sending a blessing to this silo. Mother, once you finish measuring, make a blessing. I raise it to a shov, it's empty. Bracha is not found, not something which is already weighed, not something measured, not something that's counted. Only things which are concealed from your eye. Kibbutz Gayos Tzedakah, part of Sibit. Rabbi Yechon says a number of short halachas. Godul Yom HaGshamim ki Akivis Golui. But the rain is the activity of rain is as great as the ingathering of all the people in exile. Remember, it says, Shuv Hashem Hashiv Yisenu. Hashem will bring back all the captives. Ka'afikim ba'negev, like rain out there in the dry land, arid land. They're not thinking on the bottom. You know, thinking means rain. Remember, it says, they saw the water. What kind of water in dry land? It means rain. Rabbi Yechim said, Godul Yom HaGshamim, the day of rain, is that great. I feel like Yosus, even great armies, places have to stop in their way. Shenemar says, Tolomer Rave, when you've satisfied and you fill their furrows, no, it's raining. Nachas Giduda, the battalions have to calm down or rest. You know why the rain sometimes doesn't happen? We learned yesterday a number of reasons, because people steal or people, whatever. We learned another reason why the rain stops. He said, you know why it doesn't work? You know why the rain is a drought? Because people, they declare in public by an appeal how much charity they will give, but they don't adhere to what their promises were, and they don't keep their word. Now, Rashi says, makes no difference if you do berabim or beyichidus, you do it on your own or in public. But the chances are, if you're on your own, why would you make a commitment if you wouldn't plan to keep it? But you're doing it public, you're doing it because people say, wow, this guy gave such a large amount of money. They don't know whether he gave it or he didn't give it. So therefore, those people who make these promises, empty promises, cause that they lie, the sky lies as well. So now it says in the sea, the Ruach, the Geshemayim, you have all the different clouds up there, and yet it's not raining. Why? You know why? Because Ish Mishal b'Meisar Sheker. People make praise themselves with false promises. I want to be see what says the pasuk. Aser to aser. The pasuk says, "Meiser, you should give from your tfuah. Aser b'shvil shetisasa. Give meiser in order that you become wealthy. You give meiser. In other words, you give meiser, you're guaranteed to become wealthy." And we'll come back to that. Ashkechet Rabbi Yechon once met his nephew, the son of Rish Lakish. Amalei, he says to his nephew, "Nu Emily Psukecha, what are you learning in Chumash or in Tanakh?" Amalei Aset Asa. I just learned that passage. Amalei then turned to his uncle, "My Aset Asa. What's this redundant Aset Asa? Why repeat itself?" Amalei Rabbi Yechon responded, "Aser b'shvil shetis Asher. Give meiser in order you become wealthy." Amalei, how do you know that? Amalei Zil Nasi. He said to his nephew, "Go test Hashem. You'll see that's true." Amalei, his nephew said, "Mishani l'neseged baruch. You're allowed to test Hashem." But it says, "Like Senasus Hashem, you're not allowed to test Hashem." Amalei, my Rebbe Rosh said, "Chutz bezu." This is the only mice is the only exception. Shenema. There's a pasuk actually in Tanakh where it says, in Malachi, "Heviut kol hamasel beisayit." To bring all the mice to the treasury. He tethered the base. The food will be in my house. Test me on this to see whether you won't become rich. If I want to open up the heavenly windows, I will shower you with brachas, endless brachas. My ablidai. What do you mean? That I'll give you brachas until a certain point, until there's no end. What do you mean? Until means there's an end, and then you say there is no end. Actually, you will say when die. So your lips be tired from saying the word die. No, there is an end, but when you'll say enough. Bashenta says that different letters in the alphabets are generated from your mouth, different parts of your mouth. So like the letters aleph, ches, ayin, hey, agaru come from your throat, and boom, beis, vav, mem, pei come from your lips, and so on and so forth. The letters dalid and yud both don't come from the lips, the tongue and other parts. They don't come from the lips. And that's what the Gemara is saying here. Just like your lips will never tire from saying the word die, because they don't say the word die. It's not coming from the lips. So too, the Eibush's brachas will never end. They'll be, boundless. Big machlekes in halacha, whether this idea of giving meiser and testing Hashem and everything else, does it only apply to meiser only that third and sixth year, or does it actually or the meiser to the Levi, or does it actually apply to tzedakah as well, meiser ksafim? And generally three opinions, whether it's ma'atayra, to give meiser from your earnings, or whether it's b'derabbanan, or whether it's a nice gesture, a nice minig in doing tzedakah, but it's not an obligation that you have to do. And Taisa brings you a beautiful story. Taisa said there was a person who was dying, and he said to his son, "I want to give you a piece of advice. We have a large farm. We produce a lot of wheat, 1,000 bundles of wheat at a time. Every crop, give 100 to Meiser, and you'll continue being wealthy." The following year, he decided giving way too much. So the next year he gave nothing. The next he gave nothing. The following year, all he had was 100 bundles that grew, not 1,000, but 100. 100. He was very upset, and his family told him, "Till now, you were in charge of the field, you were the custodian of the field, and you gave Hashem 10%. But now that you stopped giving the 10%, Hashem said, you know what? I'll take over the custodianship of the field. I'll become the owner, and I'll give you the 10% that you should have given me. And that's why you didn't earn what you earned. So aseh b'shvil shetis asher. You give ma'aseh in order that you succeed." Okay, we'll stop here.